Hey everyone, it's Julie Hutchison here from Think, Beat, Do Leadership, and it's delegation day again. Some might say again, and we've been talking about delegation all this week, and today we're going live to kind of bring it to life, let's say. So we talked about on Monday the dreaded D word and the 5 big mistakes that people make because we get delegation we got all fired up about delegation and get it wrong, and it makes a blooming mess. And if you're a business owner, or a leader within a business, it's so important not to be doing everything yourself because there's only 24 hours in a day and you should be sleeping for, what do they say, at least 8 of them. So we need to do something different. And so what I see happen so often, as we've been talking about this week, is that the mistakes that we make with delegation is that, well, number one, I think people feel guilty. We feel like, oh gosh, if I give you this, you're going to think I'm lazy. You think I'm putting on you, and I shouldn't be doing it, and I should know how to do this myself, or I should be doing it myself. And we have this, we're telling ourselves all these shoulds all over the place. But the other reasons is not because you feel guilty, is because you don't think that they're going to do as good a job as you, and they might not if you set them up to fail. Often we don't trust the people to do a good job as we can do, because maybe you've grown up doing it, but you've been doing it and now you need to pass it on, but you know all the intricacies of it, but it's not your job anymore, is it? And you don't want to be, because you can't actually be doing everything. So we need to learn to trust our team. But the problem with trusting our team is, as maybe you know, is that when they do it wrong and they make a hash of it, how on earth can you trust them next time? And so what we need to do is to be able to find a way to be able to trust our team to do it, because what we do know is that people are pretty good at doing stuff once they know how to do it. And maybe we need to look at how are we setting them up to succeed rather than setting up to fail. So what we need to think about, maybe I can't trust them because I haven't set them up to succeed. So what that means is that we make a big hash of it, and then we kind of prove ourselves right. That's number 5. We prove ourselves right. It's like, you see, I couldn't delegate it. So we either feel guilty, or we think we're going to put upon people, or we don't trust our team, or we mess it all up and then make a complete hash of it. And then the last one is that when it comes to delegating, I don't know what do I give away? I can't give this away. It's like a big thing. I can't think of a process now. But we think it's really complicated, and we can't get rid of it because we're like, well, it's in my head and I don't know how to tell somebody how to do it. And the problem is because you're good at what you do, you are probably what they call unconsciously competent, as in your brain has just said, you know how to do that. You don't have to worry about that. So we're just going to call it, like driving a car. We just call it driving a car. But if you don't know how to drive the car, then you don't know all the bits and the intricacies inside how to drive a car. So you can't do it. So you've set them up to fail again because you don't know how to get it out of your head. How do I, for want of a better process, drive this car or this thing that I want to do? And so we're basically stopping ourselves from the freedom that's going to bring in our business because we're just not setting it up right. And so today, what I want to talk about, and what we've been talking about all week, is specifically, so how do I set that up right? How do I actually get that going? So first of all, let's just bash some of these beliefs out a little bit. This guilt thing and putting on people, it's 1 and 2, really. You know what? If you actually went and asked some of your team, how do you feel when I give you a job to do? How do you feel when I ask you to do something new or different or extra? And what you'll probably find is that they're probably sitting there saying, well, thank God for that, finally. Because if you look at the 6 human needs, good old Tony Robbins, he said people need growth, they need development, they also need contribution, they need significance. Well, if you never give them anything to grow, then they're not significant, they're not growing, and they're not contributing. So you kind of knocked out all the things that make us human and make us happy as humans. So you've messed it up from the start because you're feeling guilty, when actually, if we think of it the other way around and say, well, I'm giving them a gift because they're going to be able to contribute, they're going to be able to grow and develop, they're going to be able to learn new things, they are going to be more significant in this business and in their own feelings the way they are. And so actually what that means is that it's a good thing, and people will be grateful and happy. Obviously not you're going to take the mickey out of them, but if you give them the opportunity to grow, then you are helping them, because they are going to be able to develop, they're going to get a better job, maybe in your business, of course, or maybe somewhere else, but you're growing people. Okay. So the next one, trust. Why don't we trust our team? Well, as we said earlier, well, I don't think they're going to do as good job as me. It's such a load of rubbish, though. It really is. And short term, in the very, very short term, you're probably right, because, we said it's like your unconscious competence. Okay. Well, they're like the opposite. They are unconsciously incompetent in that they don't know how to do it. So they don't know that it's difficult. And when you move through the learning stages, you go from unconsciously incompetent, as in, I have no idea that it's even difficult, to, oh my God, it's really difficult. And then you go on to, I can do this, but I have to really concentrate and really think about it. And then when you get good at it, you stop thinking about it, which is unconscious competence. Okay. And so when we are looking at our team, if we expect them to mind read what we are asking them to do, and we expect them to be unconscious competence straight away, well, we're not going to be able to trust them, because we're just throwing them in at the deep end, so to speak, and expecting miracles. So we have to be able to break things down, show them and coach them how to do things. So we have to take our time a little bit, and it's that time up front that feels kind of hard, because it's a short-term pain for a long-term gain. Make sense? Okay. If this is making sense, you can please feel welcome to comment or ask questions. No problem at all. So then, okay, so maybe we got this, like, okay, I trust them and I'm going to coach them so that I can feel like I can trust the whole process. And then we get to this last one, we don't know how to get things out of our head, because it's so stuck in there in this unconscious competence. So we're like, well, it's just like driving a car, or it's just walking, or it's just flying a plane, or whatever it might be. So we use this word just because our brain is thinking of it in this massive, great chunk of like, well, it's just that. But there's more to it. And so when we start to try to delegate, it's really hard to break it down and get it out of our head as to what exactly is it I'm asking somebody to do. And when we do that, we get overwhelmed, we don't know. So we think, oh, for God's sake, I'll just do it myself once again. Okay. And so because we do that, it all feels too difficult. We either don't do it or we make a mess, because we give it to them, we throw them in the deep end, we hope that they're going to be able to mind read, and they can't, and we hated it. Oh, thank you, Sue. You need what I've missed. I can't read there. Needed this massive thing. Absolutely. So if you're just going like, oh, just do that, just do it, I'm wondering why they aren't just doing it. It's because we need to break it down. We need to give it to them in bite-sized pieces. And so that when we do show them how to do something individually, these chunks of what we're learning are much smaller, much easier, much more understandable, and they're easier to teach as well, so that you don't feel like, oh my God, this is going to take me ages to show them how to do this. And of course, they succeed when you do that, because it's only a small piece. And you could even give like this piece to one person and that piece to another person, and the sum of the whole means that you don't have to do it all. Even better. And again, you can then choose, well, actually, Bob's really good at that, but he's not so good at this, so I'll give this to Sue, or whoever it might be. So you can start breaking things down. And so when it comes to delegation, the overwhelm that we think, oh my God, there's such a lot here, maybe lots of tasks or lots of things within those tasks, makes us think, oh, I can't be bothered. So what do you do about that then? Well, so we have to, first of all, realize that we need to help somebody to grow. And when we do that, we need to break these tasks down, as we said. So what better thing to do than to actually take some time and simply work out what on earth it is you need to delegate. That sounds obvious, doesn't it? Totally obvious. But what I mean is, do you actually know what you do? Do you know all of the tasks that you do on a daily or weekly basis? Do you have any inkling of what that might be? Or do you just get on and do it, and you're so busy doing it that you're not really taking a step back? Okay, so I want you to take a step back, sit down with the pen and paper or whatever you choose, and write on it. Now we use in our Leaders Launchpad program, we use this. I'll put it up here actually. We use this to start us off, which is our delegators checklist. Okay, and we start looking at is something like, well, are we in flow with it? Right? Is it something that we should be doing and we really want to do? And we're really brilliant at. So Sue, I know you're amazing at helping young people. Work on their mindset, and think in different ways through art. I've probably said that really badly, Sue, but apologies. But if you know that's what your flow is, and then you're like, yeah, but I'm doing my accounts, for example, and you're like, oh, God, that's not my flow. So we need to establish what's my flow. What are the things that I really should be doing and can be doing, and probably make a fair amount of money from, or give value to people, are really, really efficient, effective, brilliant, and all those things. And I feel good about it. And time passes enjoying myself. Okay, so that's like one end of the scale. And then look at the other end of the scale and go, oh my God, drudgery. I'm not really very good at this, but I'm trying to force this to happen. And so all those tasks that you force to happen, they're drudgery tasks. Like, do you really need to be doing those? But let's get them down on a bit of paper, because the minute you start looking at this thing and think, oh my God, this is what I want to be doing, and this is what I am doing, we can start splitting these off and working out, what shall I do? Okay. Then in the middle, which is the next one, is like, well, it's a chore. I kind of know how to do it. I'm pretty okay at it, but actually, should I be doing it? Probably not, because it takes me longer than it would be to give it to somebody else, or outsource it, or whatever it might be. And then there's this third one. Oh, Sue, what did you say there? Oh, putting a list together for volunteers, small piece of work. Yes, exactly, Sue. So the fourth one is time waster, which is like, well, I kind of like doing it, but it isn't really core business. It isn't really what I should be doing, let's say, because it's not the rainmaker activity. It's not the thing that drives the business in the first place. So it's stuff I can do, but really, I'm fairly good at it. That would be Canva for me. I get lost in Canva, being all creative, when actually that's not what I get paid to do. I'm here to help people with communication, delegation, leadership, and all those things. And so I need to get out of that. So my time waster, I can fiddle about for hours on it. And so I'm just going to take that off now, so I'm a bit bigger. So what I'm saying is that in our Leaders Launchpad, we use, that's just one of the tools we use, the delegators checklist, to stop for a second, break it down, and not just break it down like, what am I doing all day? Do I like it or not? It needs to be more than that. It's to look at whether or not it's a value thing that I'm doing. Is it a chore? Is it drudgery? Is it a time waster? Or am I in flow? In which case, then you can start to split out those tasks, those things that you're doing, into, do I want to get rid of this? Do I want to outsource it? Do I want to give it to Bob or Sue or whoever? And then you can start breaking these down and then taking them off, getting them off this list, so that you never see them ever again. Wouldn't that be nice? And when you do this, some of those barriers that we talked about earlier on kind of remove themselves, let's say, because when we've broken them down into smaller pieces and we've started to analyze, oh, I shouldn't really be doing that, we get less emotionally attached to them. And we also can start looking at it as a sort of a finite piece of work that we can assess whether Bob's going to be any good. And then we can train Bob and show that Bob actually can do it, because we've coached him and we've helped him. And then he gets on with it and he's better than you. And it's not him. He's not time wasting, and it's not a drudgery for him, because it suits his style. It's what he's there for. He likes doing it. And that's what you employed them for. Or your freelancer. Give you an example, like I hate bookkeeping, and I hate accounts. I shouldn't be doing it. So a bookkeeper, alongside my accountant, is a great thing, yeah, because I can just give all that stuff and get rid of all of the fiddling about that I do, that I can do, but it takes me hours and hours because I'm not sure I've done it right, and I want to think about double entry bookkeeping and all that sort of jazz. I shouldn't be. Yeah, I should be out there doing the thing that I'm in flow with. And so this is a great way, when you use the delegators checklist, to break down that issue of, oh, I don't even know what I'm supposed to delegate and I can't get it out of my head, because it's much, much easier when you do that. So if you would like a copy of the delegators checklist, it's a simple document, as you can see there, and you just sit down with a cup of coffee, glass of wine, whatever you want, and get it all out of your head, let it flow, and maybe even get somebody else to get it out of your head and they can use it. That would be great delegation, wouldn't it? And use a checklist just to start your journey on becoming freer from all those tasks that you shouldn't be doing, you don't need to be doing, you don't want to be doing. And if you didn't do them, you'd get back probably a day a week in your business because you're not doing all that faff that you're rubbish at and you should be doing, and somebody else is probably going to be better. So this is Julie Hutchison from Think, Be, Do Leadership. Let me know in the comments or private message me if you'd like to have a copy of the delegated checklist. And if this has been useful for you and you're still thinking, yeah, that's all very well, Julie, but like I actually need some help with some of the other beliefs and maybe the way I show up and the communication in order to be able to have the person to delegate excited, enabled and engaged, ready to be delegated to, let's say. If you need some help with those areas in your business or with your team in the business, then give me a shout and I'll be more than happy to have a chat with you about how we can help. Okay, thank you very much, Sue. Get on with those volunteers pieces of work. I'll be interested to see how that goes. And we will be speaking again next week, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. You take care. Bye-bye.